There are wounds that don't cut your skin, they rip your soul. And the real danger isn't the enemy who stands against you. It's the silent ally, the one who listens to you, understands you, and still decides to hurt you. Not every knife comes from someone you fear. Some come from someone you love. And maybe the real shock isn't the stab itself. It's who was holding the blade. This video isn't just about betrayal. It's about what betrayal exposes. It's about what you discover when the mask falls and silence speaks louder than the hug. Julius Caesar didn't fall because of the Senate's swords. He fell because Brutus was among them. The pain of the stab wasn't physical, it was symbolic. Brutus was the bridge between trust and destruction. And that's what makes betrayal between friends the most cowardly kind of emotional violence. It turns intimacy into a weapon. The worst enemies are the ones you've hugged, not because they're crueler, but because they know your blind spots, your weaknesses, your silences. They know exactly where you bleed, and still, or maybe because of that, they go for it. Being betrayed by a friend is the price tag on being naive. And the mistake wasn't trusting. It was believing that every bond comes with loyalty built in. Friendship isn't about time, it's about character. And character is what stays even when no one's watching. Betrayal between friends reveals two brutal truths. The traitor was never really your friend, and you ignored every red flag because you wanted to believe in something prettier than it was real. But there's something freeing about it. When a friend betrays you, they reveal themselves. And once someone reveals who they are, you don't have to pretend anymore. You don't have to carry emotional obligations towards someone who only saw you as a step or a mirror. Loyalty is a lightweight when it's mutual, but when it's one-sided, it turns into chains. And a lot of people are still shackled to the memory of friendships that only existed in their own heads. Brutus was necessary. He shattered the myth of blind loyalty, and maybe betrayal, in the end, is a favor. It destroys the illusion you'd never have the courage to walk away from on your own. Real friendship doesn't need surveillance. If you have to stay alert, you're already sleeping next to the enemy. You weren't betrayed because you loved wrong. You were betrayed because you thought every kind of love deserves to be returned. It doesn't. And now that the mask is off, be grateful. You lost a traitor and gained the chance to never again give shelter to someone who poisons with a sweet voice. Life clears the path with knives, and if it hurt, it's because you were still under the illusion. Good thing it's over, because worse than being betrayed is still calling the traitor a friend. Traitors don't kick the door down. They ask politely, offer help. Listen patiently, they study you. They learn your silences. They memorize the name of your weak spot and wait for the day you show it without a guard up. A traitor doesn't come at you like an enemy, but like a mirror, reflecting your trust, your vulnerability, your hope for something mutual. And that's why it hurts so much. The pain isn't from the stab, it's from the illusion you created, and they used as a weapon. Behavioral psychology has a name for this: attachment-based attack. It's the kind of damage only someone with emotional access can pull off. Strangers can insult you, steal from you, maybe hurt you physically, but only someone who lived inside your affection can break you from the inside out. And the cruelest part? Most of the time, the traitor never pretended to be loyal. They just stood still and let you project the image you wanted to see. Betrayal, then, isn't just the collapse of trust. It's the collapse of a fantasy you both silently helped build. Freud once said that every unresolved emotion returns as a symptom. That's why betrayal echoes long after it happens. It doesn't end in the act, it becomes generalized distrust, emotional withdrawal, a kind of permanent inner alert mode. When someone's been betrayed on the inside, they start living from the outside with armor. That's the real theft. Not just the relationship, but your ability to give again without fear. Because the wound left behind doesn't just bleed, it teaches your body to never relax again. No one is ever completely fooled. Betrayal, most of the time, doesn't happen because there weren't signs. but because there were too many excuses. The human mind has a remarkable ability to deny the obvious when the obvious threatens emotional comfort. So when someone pretends not to see they're being manipulated, it's not ignorance, it's emotional survival. It's easier to believe loyalty exists than to face the loneliness that comes with realizing it doesn't. Many relationships survive not because of love, but because of the fear of the emptiness truth would leave behind. Neuroscience calls this cognitive dissonance, the inner conflict between what we know and what we want to believe. When someone hurts us but also comforts us, the mind goes into distortion mode. It recalculates, softens, rationalizes. Maybe they didn't mean it. Nobody's perfect, but they've always been there for me when I needed them. And just like that, a history of emotional abuse is rewritten into sentimental memory. Pain gets rebranded as loyalty, and the traitor, even after the damage, keeps being called a friend, not because they deserve it, but because our attachment was trained to be blind. This emotional blindness isn't a flaw, it's a defense. It's the same force that in childhood made you ignore the flaws of someone who gave you love and hurt in the same breath. You learned early on that affection comes with thorns, so you grew up tolerating cuts, as long as they came with company. The problem is that pattern gets addictive. The mind starts linking vulnerability with resistance, presence with exhaustion, friendship with surveillance, and in the end, you get an entire generation confusing connection with emotional debt. The longer you stay in a relationship built on illusion, the harder it is to leave, because you've already invested too much to admit you were wrong from the start. Betrayal, as much as it feels like a loss, is sometimes the only way to finally see what was hidden. As long as the bond is intact, affection acts like a filter. You don't see the other person as they are, you see them as you wish they were. But there's a moment, usually brutal, when the mask drops. And once that happens, there's no going back, no more pretending, no more illusion. The traitor doesn't change overnight. You just stop reinterpreting what they always were. The poison was already there, you just refused to taste it. Nietzsche once wrote that anyone who has a why can endure almost any how. And the why behind most betrayals is self-deception. The idea that the other person was loyal, good, trustworthy. But they weren't. They never were. They just knew how to move inside your emotional hunger. The pain of discovering the truth, as cruel as it is, also sets you free. Because in revealing the traitor, it also reveals you. The version of you that shrank, bent, twisted yourself to keep alive a connection that only existed because you kept feeding it alone. The revelation is harsh, but fair. It destroys the lie. And only after that can something real begin to be rebuilt. That's the moment when everything changes. The wound is still open, but now there's clarity. And clarity, even when it stings, is freedom, because you no longer have to perform. You no longer have to tolerate out of habit. You no longer have to pretend everything's fine when the other person decided long ago that you were just usefulness wrapped in affection. Betrayal, in that sense, is a cruel gift. It ends the show, severs the fake bond, clears the stage. And with that, it hands you what you've been avoiding all along, the chance to start over, with dignity. Not every pain has to turn you into a cynic. The world's already packed with people using disappointment as a shield just to stop feeling anything at all. People who trade depth for safety, who mistake coldness for strength. But that's not growth, it's numbness. Closing yourself off out of fear of being hurt again isn't protection, it's self-abandonment. Because betraying yourself just to avoid being betrayed again is still betrayal, only now the traitor lives inside you. Real healing isn't about building walls, it's about developing radar. It's not about trusting everyone, it's about learning to trust yourself first. Psychology calls this post-traumatic growth, the process where pain doesn't harden you, it sharpens you. You start recognizing patterns. You pick up on sweet voices that hide bitter intentions. And most of all, you learn to feel the exact moment when a relationship begins to silence you. Trauma isn't the end. It can be the map, but only if you choose to treat the wound as a teacher, not a tormentor. The scar might look ugly, but it's useful. It shows where it hurt, and where you'll never allow yourself to be wounded the same way again. And even if trust returns in small steps, it does return. But this time with more awareness, because now you get it. Loyalty isn't something you demand, it's something you observe. Presence isn't something you beg for, it's something you notice. Real friendship is the kind that breathes without surveillance, that welcomes without keeping score, that stays even when you've got nothing to offer but silence. Whoever's been through betrayal carries a scar that doesn't fade, but also doesn't hide. And maybe that's exactly what filters the next ones better. Because only someone who's been truly broken understands the worth of someone who shows up without trying to break anything else. This isn't about learning to trust people again. It's about learning to trust your own perception. This video wasn't really about betrayal. It was about revelation, revealing the other person, sure. But more than that, revealing how much you tolerated, silenced, rationalized, while calling convenience friendship. And now, with the clarity that's left, the question shifts. It's no longer, why did they do this to me? It's, why did I let it keep happening? Because somewhere along the way, you let affection turn into emotional debt. And now that you see it clearly, the responsibility no longer belongs to them, it belongs to you. Real freedom isn't about forgetting who hurt you, it's about remembering yourself, remembering who you became just to feel accepted, what you swallowed to keep the bond alive, how many times you shrank so you wouldn't make waves. Growth isn't turning into stone, it's turning into a bridge. But a bridge that only lets people cross who know how to walk with respect. The one who betrayed you taught you more about yourself than any self-help quote ever could. And now that the show is over, you can finally stop acting. Stop watching your back, stop pleasing, stop begging, and start choosing. Choosing who gets your presence and who no longer deserves your energy. So if this video hit you in any way, if you saw yourself in these words, if it brought someone to mind, if you finally understood why that friendship always left you drained, drop a comment. Say what's on your mind. Share this clarity with someone who's still trapped in one-sided bonds. And yes, hit the like button. Because that one small click helps this message reach more people who need this truth. Maybe people who still don't have the courage to name what they're feeling. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications. We don't hand out quick advice here. We hold up mirrors. And sometimes, all someone needs to wake up is to be placed in front of the right reflection.